Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Learn Excel for Free. I brought today the three things talking about serial number, reference, and wildcard. Yeah, I know these are very commonly used by most of us, but some of you may not have that knowledge of understanding these things. So that's the reason why I brought these things for all of you. I know some of you may be already in the master in this, so I really appreciate and thank you. Probably your additional comments can help me some extent to add on. Let's move on and let me discuss about the number one, which is very common using by most of us, called serial number. And most of us still are using the traditional method, which is the reason where I thought of giving the different level of using the serial number can help some extent to all of you. To utilize these formulas can make your work more easier and more quicker also. So if example, if you want to use a traditional method, we all right, we always used to do that called a plus one. That's what we generally say. And when you drag here, it automatically drag the number of rows you are dragging it. I'm dragging only 20. Probably you can add 50 or 60, then it will drag automatically. So that's the traditional one. And then there's one more formula came down. It's called a row. Row generally used to, for example, if I can type a row, then if I enter, automatically show the row, the reference row number, that is 7 now, but actually we are going to calculate the serial number. So I want to make sure to start with the 1. So that's where I kept all -6 here. So row number 1, then if I drag here, it automatically give you the calculation for you to 1, 2, 3, and also row is a formula to refer to a specific row number wherever you type the function. And you can also drag this to extend till number of rows you need the serial number. Okay, and the other one which is a common one which I got it where some of times we maybe need to require to use the sales order number, product number, or even the employer code in the beginning before then I extend the serial number. That is the reason where I thought of adding the text along with the number. We were using row formula. That is one thing which I want to show here. So example, right, everybody knows that whenever you want to mention the text inside the formula starts, then probably you have to use with quotes. And then we have to link that with the formula. That you have to use ampersand. Ampersand is helping us to add two text numbers or the formulas. Ampersand is the bridge between the two. Then as you already know, the row then and the -6 is starting with number. Then you can see here -1 is came here. Then I'm dragging it till 20. Then you can see all 20 are here. Then my favorite one comes here called sequence. Sequence is one of the new formula which is came down from 2021 series and 2024 and even for Microsoft 365 still license. So you can check your version. If your sequence is not working, then probably you're maybe using the older versions of MS Office. Find out that, then you can utilize this. But sequence is one of the best thing, which I like it. As I show you, then you'll understand the reason behind why I'm talking about that. Example, if you can type sequence here, then there's even have got a couple of parameters here, talking about row, then column, then start, then steps. But I'm just trying to use say add here. Only the title can mention the number of rows you need the serial number. Then if I click enter, it automatically expand till 20, irrespective of that. So you can also mention that into columns as well, and I'll explain that in a separate session for you. But sequence is one of the best thing, which I like it compared to the rows and even for the traditional method as well. So if you can go to the next one, I similar to that, the product number and all as I mentioned with the using text, I try to use that along with the sequence here, and that can probably going to help you some extent. Along with I'm adding a few zeros here, that way it will be more visible and easy for the to track and to visible as well. So let me show that again. So if I want to use text as equal to, again, you remember, right, we have to add in the quotes. Then ampersand is, as I mentioned, that we have to add it for. Then I have used a text function here that converting a value to a text format here. So I'm using sequence. Okay, then I'm using, as I mentioned, I can use as 20. Remember, I'm not required to use other parameters. I'll explain that separately. Then I also mentioned that zeros here. You can also add or reduce the number of zeros depending upon your requirement. I'm just trying to give the 4 here. Just click on enter. Automatically you can see here it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and obviously this go up to 20. You can also expand the serial numbers till you require for your data. I just showed that only 20 here. Okay. One thing which I really want to explain why we need these options called rows or sequences compared to a traditional method. The example, if you want to delete a row from here, okay, row or not 2 rows, if you want to delete, you click on delete here. What will happen is, if you can see a traditional method is showing as a reference is missing because the previous column which row which you deleted, that formula is not there because that formula is basing on that the next formula, next row is added there. So as we deleted that part, automatically you can see the reference showing that is showing error. At the same time, if you can refer to the rows and sequences, you can see it automatically, even though we deleted a row, but still it's automatically calculating the previous one. It will start counting that. Okay. And same if you can see even the in the rows here also. But when you see, you can see observe sequence. Sequence, even though you're deleting a 1 row or 2 rows, still showing the 20 serial number. It is not deleting anything. Not so. Even though you can see rows are showing 19 here, but sequence is showing only 20 here. Okay. Even same thing goes even with text as well. So the best part which I like it is that these serial numbers are not really working out well. Traditional method is not working out well, so I request you to use rows or sequences, which always going to give you the lot of scope for you to utilize. Okay, let's move on to the references. Reference is one of my favorite one. You read it a little bit more whenever you have little time, but I think the reason why I really want to say reference is important because we use formulas. I know most of us all use formulas. Most of us always try to copy these formulas to the next cell or to the row side or a column level. Then there is always we face these challenges. So that's the reason where I brought these things for you to explain. First thing is, which I'm really want to let you know, is a relative reference talking about column locked. Example, if I kept a dollar, the dollar is generally is a symbol used to the references can be to be locked there. So example, if I mentioned dollar before the column, then you can see here, even though if I copy this formula to the next column, maybe to C, D, or E, or F, you cannot see a change of the column. But if you can see, when you copy this same formula to the row level, example 20, so you can see the serial numbers have changed because the rows numbers are using it, but column still has got fixed here. Same way goes to the rows locked. So when I lock the row number, example $23 I locked here, automatically what will happen whenever I try to copy these to the below rows, it's not changing the row number. You can see here it sticks there even though I'm copying to multiple rows below. But when you move to the column level, you can see when I move that, even though I'm locked the row, so column is changing from Z to H, I, and J and K. So copying happening for the column level, but row level it's got locked. Okay. And the important next one is called absolute. Absolute is used whenever you think there is a fixed cell where you are not willing to change that, even though you copy the rows or columns to the further formula. So that's where you call references called absolute reference. So when I keep the dollar before column and after the column called row, before the column and before the row, it will not change. Even though I'm copying this formula to wherever I copy, it will never change. It will be fixed in the same way. Okay, let's go with an example that can give you a lot of clarification to you. Example, I kept call as a couple of employee names here with names here, and I kept something called a 15% as this commission here. So if I want to calculate 15% commissions, example, I'll say equal to into, then I'll say call these D3 as their reference cell. It's called percentage, and it's showing that number here. Adding the commission here. So when I copy this, okay, without any references I'm adding there, if I can copy and paste here, you can see it's showing as 0 here. Okay, and again if I copy here that to the next row, next cell, it's showing again showing as error because the error is why it came because it's searching for the D5. D5 is a text here. So text and the value is not matching here. So we are searching for value, but text is there in the specific cell. So it's showing an error called hash value. To how to stop this? So there's one option we can use. So whenever you want to example, you want to restrict this, you want to keep that as absolute for the D3, then you can also use something called F4 function. Okay, click on F4 function. Okay, you can see automatically, you can see when I click on F4, you can see it's changing is happening. You can observe there. Okay, so I can absolute, then you can multiple, say example number 1, 2, and 3. So automatically changing that to so all the, so you can, now I'm making that as absolute for, okay, so let me show you again. Okay, let me click on F4. Okay, so I've entered. So now I kept it as absolute here. So if I can drag this data here, okay, can you see here? So in absolute D3 is not changing anywhere. So, and C7 is changing again here also. So you can see, and even if I can copy, so as I know that C should not even copy and move anywhere. So that's the reason I kept called dollar here symbol. That means column should always be the same, should not move, because salaries are there in the C column. So I'm locking there also. Here you can see here, so okay, so column and C both are there, and I can also add a total here. I know you all do that. So I can add this to R plus, so I can use a sum, but sum is not required because there are only 2 columns here. Okay, then click on double click, and then it will go to automatically calculate. So references are very, very important. Go through that, because the references are most of the formulas we do calculate, but again, because of the references, many times when we move this copy, the formulas from one cell to another cell, or one column to another column, or one row to another row, we always lose that formula data, because the reference is going somewhere else, and you're assuming that the reference is in one place. So that's where we could get confused, and we get some error, and we think the error is for some other reason. But actually the reason is that we are not kept the right reference there. That is the reason it is happening that. Okay. Oh, let's go to the wildcard. Wildcard is also a very, very important one. It's a very small one, but again, a lot of you may know a little bit, but I am trying to add that, reference. Generally, wildcard is used for the characters, and or you can also use for the count as well, for the text level. So example, if you can see here, example, I kept a couple of things here, like star is for many characters. Then question mark is talking about one character. You can add multiple question marks as well. You can, example, if you're adding 2 question marks, it will show as 2 and as well. Okay, let me give an example to you. Example, if you want to find the Microsoft, how many times it repeated in the Microsoft products from the column B. So if I can see here, I can say count if, then I'll say the column reference here. So I'll say from here to here. Okay, then I'll calculate, then I'll say what we are trying to find here, the Windows, or I can say or you can use Microsoft better. Okay, Microsoft, then I'll use something called a star here. Okay, asterisk. So when you use a star here, asterisk, so automatically what happened, it automatically search the text after Microsoft, how many are there, it will search automatically. So you can see 6 are there here. Okay, then so I'm also adding a reference absolute here, that way, as you know that we are going to use the same like range for the below formulas as well. So I want to keep that as a when copying this formula should not have to change the data. So I'm just referencing, I'm blocking that. So you see already, right, earlier I mentioned you have to use F4. Okay, good. So I want now search for the, similarly I want to search even for Windows. You can also copy this data here, simplest way. Then you can just change this to Microsoft, or I can use Windows here. Okay, then click, the 2 are there here. Okay, then if you want to search something called the Windows 11, okay, so when we have 11 and 10 and 11 both are there, I want just search with the with one question mark here, that we can see. These are all just to give an example. Probably you can use the real data more to utilize. So I use called count if, then you will, again, as I mentioned that, or you can copy the same formula here, that way at least you can save that. Okay, count if, then brackets here, then I can add the range here which I mentioned. Then you can also use F4 for changing this to, even you can do it like this also. Okay, then I'm using something called in quotes, then I'll say Windows, then space 1, then I say 1 question mark here. Okay, then quotes close, then close the brackets as well. So 2. So we have got 2 here. Okay. And you can search, example, I want to search the BI, actually Power BI and there, Power BI desktop, both I want to search wherever there is a BI starts with before or after BI starts in the text. Okay, if I can try here, I can use something called star asterisk here. So I'll say BI, then I use star here. Okay, then enter. You can see the 2 are there. Okay, so you can use this count if you know, you can use VLOOKUP and you can find and replace and filters you can use also. But this is a very small one, but a lot of time we use, we need these things, but we'll forget to utilize. So I just brought to reference to all of you to know that. Okay, and that is pretty much for today. Thank you for your time. I really love to bring it the next video for you again. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for being part of this video. Thank you so much.